All right, on the verge of Canada Day and July 4th. July 1st is tomorrow, Canada Day, and then I have Nate Turner uh, from Chicago joining the show tonight. So this is pretty sweet that I have you on. I should have got my Buffalo Bills pen in the background. So I know I got the Chiefs
Uh,
here. So let's just say it's a rematch of the AFC Championship game, and we can
right,
go from there. But again, thanks for
right.
thanks for making the time. I do appreciate it greatly.
No problem, Steve. It's just good to be out here, doing some stuff, talk to some people,
Yeah,
remembering some great days. It's good.
yeah. It definitely is, right? And when I've had people on, I mean, what my word, the um, just going back and hearing people's mentors and relationships that they've had to bring them to points of their life, and when you realize that, football is just that piece of the puzzle. So if we want to go back, let's kind of maybe start your time playing Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska with the Cornhuskers and influences
Yeah,
of, coaches of Tom Osborne and that sort of thing.
Dr. Tom Osborne is is a legend, and he's a legend because he is a legend. You know what I mean? And it's amazing to see, the type of coach he is and the type of man he is. Still to this day. I mean,
Right.
we had a in 2000 we had a all years reunion, and I kind of stood by him and watched him, and it was all years. I'm talking about, he coached there he was the offensive coordinator when Bob Devaney was the coach.
Hmm.
So he's been there forever. And just to know everybody's name, ask me how my mom and dad are doing, you know, just unbelievable. And then to watch him not stumble on anybody's name. This dude has coached thousands of people. But he's that type of man, and, and the way we came up, it was coaches weren't jumping ship and leaving every 2 years. You go coaches back, the Tom Osborne's and the Bo Schembechlers and the Joe Paternos, they, 30 years plus at the university. And that's just what they, in Nebraska, we were taught how to be men, and that what it equates to is wins. You know what I mean? It equates to wins. When you teach somebody to cross their T's and dot their I's, the byproduct of that is winning.
Yeah.
So sometimes a lot of the conversations weren't even about football. It was about life and about, being a father. I mean, stuff that, that I think we're kind of missing today in spots.
Yeah.
And, and that's what makes you long for the long in the tooth coaches of back in the day.
Yeah, you hear about that, right? Like the coach in Nebraska now. I mean, he spent some time with the Carolina Panthers, and I think he was at Rutgers before that, and just it's so hard to keep up. And
Yeah, they
it,
bounce around. You know what I mean? I mean, those guys, coaches in Nebraska, even when they started making changes, they really weren't changes. Coach Solich took over for Coach Osborne,
mhm.
and uh, Coach Charlie McBride, he was the defensive coordinator and defensive line coach, and he's the guy that recruited me. He's from Chicago,
Yeah,
so he's somebody who I still keep in touch with till this day.
nice. That's good. That's awesome. So you get drafted by the Buffalo Bills in 1992. Um, they had already been to a Super Bowl. Getting drafted, you're amongst the likes of the Thurman Thomases, the Jim
Greats,
Kellys.
greats.
I mean, just um,
Bruce Smith, the
Bruce
Andre
Smith.
Reeds,
Right. Yeah.
the Don Beebes, the James Lofton,
Yeah.
Shane Cobb, the Daryl Tallies. I mean, yeah, Cornelius Bennett. Man, some great players that are Hall of Fame players. Some made it already, and some are gonna make it. And it's kind of as a kid, getting drafted to that team. You don't think about it until you think about it. So now they just coming off a Super Bowl. that I watched on TV. Here I am, get drafted by Buffalo. They have all the pieces in place.
Hmm.
You have to go in there and fight and make a plays. It's not like, you know, going to a bottom ranked team where it's going to be easy to make. It's not easy to make. You have to cut your teeth and find a way.
Right.
And that was and a lot of those guys, once guys see that you are really a professional and they see that you really do have talent, they know what it is, so they want you around. So the older guys kind of take you under their wing and you know teach you the ropes so that you don't get lost in the shuffle.
Right. So, through that season there, you guys, again, there were some memorable games. And before I press record, I wanted you to kind of touch on a game there. I remember watching it as a kid. The game where you're down by so many to Houston at halftime. Frank Wright comes in, and you can kind of take it from there.
Right. Well, Jim Kelly's beat up. Thurman Thomas isn't playing. Cornelius Bennett, I'm not sure if Cornelius played or was it Bruce wasn't playing. It was like nobody, all the superheroes weren't playing. And Warren Moon, and they got rolling, man. They got rolling, and they were kicking the hell out of us.
Yeah.
They were kicking the hell out of us. And then, you know, Marv Levy, man, is an unbelievable coach and an unbelievable leader of men, you know. So a lot of times, over the my young career and a lot of those guys over the years, he tells stories and he'll read you poetry, and then you'll be sitting there like, why the hell did he read us that poetry? Next thing you know, it all makes sense. You know what I mean? He's like a savant, man. It's like, he kind of reminds me of who was a coach for the Bulls?
Phil Jackson.
Phil Jackson, where he's like, it's really not about basketball, but it is. And his approach is different than everybody else's approach. We went training camp one year, and he was like, so you go to training camp, you're ready. You're ready for smacking in the mouth, body sore. And I was lucky enough to get on the old Bills team. They were
Mhm.
old. Those guys were getting old.
Yeah.
So we got to training camp, and then Coach Levy goes, "Your your legs look tired. Let's ditch training camp and go back to Buffalo." Because he was the best at managing players, and as
Mhm.
far as knowing, especially as they got older, we like we didn't hit. We probably hit maybe once a week, if that. It's more of a cerebral game. You know what I mean? And thank God, because that made my career would probably be a whole lot shorter if I had, like, when I got to Carolina with Dom Capers, it was a different animal. It wasn't Club Marv no more. It was a different animal. It was like college, and everybody's fighting for a spot. I got uh I got linebackers, man, in Carolina, and we smashed Lamar Lathan and Derrick, or what's his name, Connors. Who's the Hall of Fame guy? Played for the Saints,
Well, I mean,
linebacker.
there was Kevin Green.
Well, Kevin Green was after. That was after
Yeah.
me.
Okay. Yeah.
It was oh my God, played for the Saints, linebacker, the short guy. Oh, he passed away. His name is slipping my mind.
Was that Wilson? No.
Anyway,
Yeah.
man, talking about ass. Who?
I think I got
Sam
my
Mills.
dates wrong too. I thought it was Will Smith, but I could be wrong on that one too.
No, Sam Mills, man. Lord
Yes.
have mercy.
Right.
It was 3 times a week, man.
Yeah.
I play fullback, man. When I'm in the game, you know what's about to happen. It's about to be some collisions. I'm either getting the ball or I'm hitting somebody. You know what I mean? And that was Sam. We should look at each other and be like, man, here we go. It's another day. But I think Dom Capers, he we hit so much. We went through 13 running backs.
It's crazy.
13 running backs during the season. It was crazy, man. We because it was all the hitting, it was all the beating that we were taking. It wasn't a Club Marv situation. Thank God for Marv leaving.
So it was
I
more,
was walking one time. Yeah, we were in training camp one time. And I was walking with James Lofton. We were going to get taped, and he was walking really slow. So I walk. I mean, I'm being an old wide receiver from high school. I know who James Lofton is. I'm walking and talking with him, and he's like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Don't get old, man." He's like, "This is for the birds." It was one of his last years.
right, right. That's crazy. I mean, again, I love having you guys on because you give me those insights and you tell us stuff
Right.
that we just want to know about. So I mean that's great. And I know that Marv Levy did have some time up in the CFL as well, coaching with the Montreal Alouettes and
Yes.
transitioning
Yes.
down. What was it like to go to a Super Bowl, the one that you played in Atlanta?
You know what? The funny thing is, it's hard for me to say because that's all I knew. You know what I mean? You got guys that play in the league 20 years and don't get to go to the Super Bowl. I get to go right off the bat.
Yeah,
And then we went back again after that. You know what I mean? So, and that was the tough part about it is that, going to the Super Bowl and not winning, and then our whole focus was on getting back
right.
to the Super Bowl, and it really wasn't, looking back on it, it was us against the world, and everybody just at this point didn't want us to go back,
Right.
and it was us against the world. We got to get back. We got to get back. I don't think we really thought about winning it. The whole focus was getting back, and then when we finally do get back, kind of airs out the sails.
I see. Yeah. I mean, you guys had that
But we
big
had some
game.
man. We had some. It was
Now go ahead.
the which one?
You keep going.
No, it's just that. Go ahead. Well, it's just man, it's just so crazy that first year that with that Houston game. You get what's the word? Like you get into and like everybody gets into the zone all of a sudden,
Right.
and then everything's like in slow motion, and it's just sometimes God just takes over, man. And in regards to what anybody can do, you were supposed to win the game,
Hmm.
and you see guys playing out of their minds, and Frank can't make a bad throw. Andre Reed's catching every ball. Kenny Davis did a great job running the ball. We just, it's just when you got a bunch of guys that have been together for a long time and a bunch of guys that have heart and know how to play the game, it's hard to beat that team.
Yeah.
It's hard because it's like family, and I think that's what's even the college game is getting away from that when guys moving around so much. You don't play with guys in college for 4 years. We can develop a family and guys in for a year, hired hitman, come in, give him $2
Hmm.
million in
Yeah.
college, and he's the guy, and he comes in and plays 1 year. Just the game of football is so weird now because the money. I mean, when I played in Nebraska, the money was illegal. You know what I mean? So we got illegal money, and it was illegal. You know what I mean? But now with it being legal,
Yeah.
everybody's getting some money because I guarantee you NCAA is getting some money. Everybody's getting a piece of the pie now.
Right. That's why Reggie Bush is getting his trophy back. right? I mean,
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
well, let's not be naive to the fact. Like it was,
Yeah.
these guys are getting paid. You even look at the NBA with Cooper Flag. Plays 1 year in Duke, and he can make up to $1 billion.
Right.
Guy was born in year 2006. This is this is
Right.
this is mind blowing. We see this with Deion
Right. That's
Sanders' kid.
unbelievable.
It is. It's quite something, honestly.
Right. He should be in the basketball player. What year is he supposed to be in school? Like he's supposed to be a junior, right?
He's
Coming
supposed to
up,
be a junior. Yeah, he was a freshman.
or is he supposed to be a sophomore?
Yes,
Is
sophomore.
he supposed to
Yes.
be a sophomore? So imagine that. So when I was in college, we were eating ramen noodles as a sophomore. You know what I mean? He's gonna have $100 million contract.
Yeah. It's yeah, it is quite something. And I don't, yeah, again, should people get paid? Yeah, probably. But that the motivation, the heart and all that, it's yeah, that pendulum has shifted. And for what I'm gathering, I think we're on the same page with that. You don't think that's a good thing either.
Yeah, yeah. The game has changed. The game has changed, and I think that I don't know. It's kind of changing for the worst in a way. With all the rules and it's not as violent as it used to be.
Yeah.
And you get like the stuff we used to do. You get kicked out the league for it now, probably.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Crackback blocks and
right. And there was this thing about making it safe and everything else, and then we see all what happened with
right.
Damar Hamlin, and then um, it's just yeah, we know
I
how.
think I think the Damar Hamlin thing. I think
Mhm.
that comes from that 7-on-7 attitude mentality that's been happening since 2015. And you don't have, they act like 7-on-7 is such a big part of the game. I was like, well, if 7-on-7 was such a big part of the game, it wouldn't just be a 15-minute period in practice.
Right. Yeah.
It would be a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
And then so now you're not tackling and you're not doing this all summer. And so, yeah. So when was T. Higgins, is that who that was that was running the ball, caught that
T.
ball?
Higgins. Yeah, T. Higgins was running the ball. Yeah.
T. Higgins catches the ball. He 6'4", 2. When he gets someplace, it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
And yeah, my man's kind of slight and gives him his chest. He gives him his chest. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? What happened to low man wins? What happened to? I mean, it's not the kid's fault. I mean, it's a freak thing that happened. But man, if I was coaching, I'd be hollering at the kid, get down, get down, get down. You know what I mean? Low man wins.
Mhm.
You're not gonna just let somebody, open arm hit you in the chest.
No, absolutely not.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's sad. And he's actually playing a lot better since then. God bless. He made it through and he's alive. But I think he's become a better football player because of it.
yeah.
Because I think at one point the Buffalo was, they were hitting around to cut the kid, but it would have been a PR nightmare. You cut the kid, it's a PR nightmare.
Yeah, no doubt, because there was a while there he was inactive. Okay, well, he's finally active, and I think everybody was kind of waiting, like, okay, when's this kid making his comeback? And uh,
Right.
let's not kid ourselves.
From look
Everybody knows who he
from death,
from death.
not
Like,
from an injury, not
yeah,
from an injury, from death.
yeah, because his heart was stopped on that
He,
field.
you know, he he was dead.
Yeah,
And that's the thing that people don't know, and that I don't know if you remember when it happened, right? And so you're sitting there watching the game,
yeah,
and you're looking at the people's faces. You've never seen faces like that before.
no,
I think and then they never showed him because I guarantee you he defecated on himself. Just like when anybody passes away, man.
yep,
It was a bad scene. It was a bad, horrible scene. It was no way they could finish playing that game, no matter how they cut it. Nobody wanted to do anything else on that field except for go take a shower.
yep. That's
I remember when we were in we were playing bocce. We were playing bocce. You ever heard of Ilio Diapollo?
I have not.
He's an old wrestler and he owns a restaurant in Buffalo. So we were at his house playing bocce, and it was I think it might have been a Thursday night game. It was a Thursday. So we're playing bocce at his house, and we're watching the Raiders game. And that's the day that Napoleon McCallum got the knee backwards deal. Man, we went to practice that next day. Man, nobody wanted to do it. Thing, and that was just from watching that.
Right.
So imagine if a kid dies in front of you, and then they bring him back. You really now you have to rethink. You know what? Andre Reed called me. We talked when after it happened. He called me. He was like, "Man," he was like, I didn't until that period of time. You never realized you was risking your life. You never even thought about
No, not at all. You think you're just going out playing a game, having fun, and then boom,
it.
that
Right. You don't
happens.
even. That's the last thing you ever think. I didn't until that happened. I was like, wow. I was like, we were out there risking our lives, man.
Yeah, I mean, you
And
hear about the guy
it's a
that
weird,
breaking of a neck. That's kind of always kind of prevalent.
right,
You know that with what happened with the New York Jets player from years ago
right.
and that sort of thing. But for that to happen, I mean, you think you've seen it all, and you haven't seen it all until that.
Until that, right. Somebody actually die on the field.
Yeah.
It's incredible. But you know what? The God bless the kid is back, and the Bills Mafia put a couple $1 million in this deal because they're
Hmm.
awesome as usual. Uh, Buffalo's an awesome city, man. Awesome fans. The Mafia is unbelievable. All the way up into Canada,
Yeah.
all the way up into Canada. You know what I mean? And it's yeah, we had I had some fun. I had some fun in Toronto and going to
You broke up
you
there.
there, you froze up.
Yeah, hey, you froze up too. I'm not
Okay,
not
you
sure. I'm
back.
not sure what's going on. Nobody's using
Okay,
internet in my house. I had somebody come by the other day
right,
and try to
right.
change
Oh, it's
providers.
all good.
Do you have a bad internet connection? I said, I'm good. But usually when no one's using it, I think I'm good. But anyhow, uh,
Right.
so what kind of keeps you busy now, Nate?
Well, at Mount Carmel High School, my alma mater run like a mentorship program,
Hmm.
for kids in the school, and and it's not just about it's a couple athletes in the program, but it's about the because I went to an all boys Catholic school here in Chicago, and it's kids on the chess team and those kids that kind of don't get accolades athletically. They
Hmm.
kind of slip through the cracks, and I just want to make sure that they know they're wanted too and they have a voice too. You know what I mean? So that's what I've been doing. I've been dealing with the school a lot.
That's good. That's I love it when guys pass it down, right, to that next generation. I think that's important. I think that's almost I know I take that as a responsibility to do that with
Right? No, 100%,
my kids and my
100%.
influence in my
Because
world.
if you don't do it, nobody will do it. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I was talking with Donovan McNabb, and he was like, man, because in '94 I came back. He was a senior. I came back and talked to his class, and he was like, man, you the only guy that came back to talk. So I try to make sure I get him and other people back involved with the school, and trying to keep our uh, keep our dynasty afloat
Right.
as a school.
Yeah, yeah. Most definitely. Were there any superstitions, things that you'd like to do before games? right shoe on before the left, or favorite food that
You
you
know
like
what?
to
I
eat?
tell you what, I don't think I think the and a lot of guys will tell you this. They were in our locker rooms. Like if Jim Kelly's throwing up, it's gonna be a good game. So once you hear him throwing up, then all of a sudden you hear everybody cheering and yeah, Jim, you know, it was weird, you know what I mean? But usually when he did that, we had a great game. We had a great game.
Nice.
Yeah, Jim. Yeah, it's you think about the guys that have passed away, the Kent Hulls and guys that the what's it, Mark Pike. The guys just great guys. Great guys that that you share a locker room with. Now I'm getting to the age where, well, they're getting to the age where their bodies are beat up and they're older. Those guys. I'm 56,
Yeah.
so a lot of those guys were like 10 years older than me. So they're like 65, 66 years old. So it's good to see them moving around and laughing and just to see the and to have the camaraderie still, knowing the camaraderie is still there and the love is still there because that's what got us through games like the Houston game
Mhm.
and a lot of those games in that cold weather up in Buffalo.
Yeah, you guys had the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. That's the game where Derek
Yeah,
Thomas was
yeah,
on the field, or he was not on the field for a lot of that game, and um, yeah, I mean that was definitely a pivotal win in your
that
career
was
in
that
the
was Joe
franchise.
Montana's last game.
Yes, it was.
That was Joe Montana's last game,
Yeah.
and Bruce beat the hell out that guy. He beat the hell out that guy. Bruce Smith was, I mean, he was a freak, man. You know what I mean? Unbelievable player. He we played Indianapolis one year and he was pissed about something. And I mean, listen, they couldn't run the ball, they couldn't throw the ball. He was damn near intercepting handoffs. It was unbelievable. Like to see a guy like that when they turn it on and don't have the ability to turn it off. That's just like when you play in Detroit. If you're on offense, you play in Detroit and you come off the field, you hurry up and get your water so you can get on the sideline and watch Barry Sanders.
Right.
You know, you want to hurry up and get the water, get the talk over with. Okay, let me get over here and see what's going on. So you could laugh. So you could laugh at. I could laugh at Daryl Talley or Bruce Smith or Cornelius, like, you missed that tackle. But there's it's not a lot of people on earth that could tackle Barry one on one.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, it was I mean, that's when I personally fell in love with the NFL, watching you guys and that generation. I mean, it was again these names you bring up, even from the opposing teams. I mean, that to me, that was true football. I watch these games. It's like, well, the
Right,
team is down 21 points. It's like no big deal. Like they're gonna come back, and that was a novelty,
right. Right.
right?
Yeah, the ability to come back is going to rear its head at some point. Somebody's going to try to do something really special, and it's like you got guys like I tell this story a lot. You got guys like Steve Tasker,
Hmm.
5 foot nothing, 100 nothing, but he's just a football player. A great, listen, probably top three I've ever seen in my life. Like honestly speaking,
Yeah.
just like I like. So we in practice. I've seen it at least twice. I've seen so Chris Moore was our punter from Atlanta. Chris Moore was the punter, and we'd be at practice. I've seen him catch the ball off of Chris's foot while he's punting. Instead of blocking it, he catches the ball off of his foot. Never seen nothing like that before in my life, and probably never will ever see anything like that again.
So why did
And that's
yeah.
just he belongs in the Hall of Fame, no doubt, no doubt.
So why do you think some of these? Why do you think that art's been lost? Like what you say, it's going to rear its ugly head one day. I mean, I think back to the miracle at the Meadowlands, the Jumbo Elliott catch. There was the crazy comeback when when the Colts beat the Bucks on Monday Night Football over 20 years ago. And those are big things. And now it's like as we've said here, it's just commonplace. But uh, what do you mean by it's going to rear its ugly head?
You know what? The game has changed so much. It's so much. It's so much. You know, social media being involved and guys talking and saying stuff they really probably shouldn't say, and not really be having the ability to back it up like that. You know what I mean? Like you can't. I mean, if Bruce Smith said something, odds are he's going to do it. If not, he's going to die trying to do it. You know, Daryl Talley, who was our spiritual leader, you know, just guys like that that mean so much to the game and mean so much to you when you see him and play with him every day. Those guys aren't around like that anymore.
Right.
You know, like those, not everything is kind of fabricated, and you know, do people do stuff for the likes and the clicks? Like the kid from Colorado, Travis Hunter. You know what I mean? And the stuff he's going through with with his girl and all that. Like nobody. I mean, before the social media, nobody would know all that.
Right.
It'd be nothing to know.
Nope.
The
That's
only
right.
people would know would be some people that are close to you.
Yeah.
It's not. It wouldn't be something where the whole world knows and not the whole world thinks you're an idiot. You know what I mean? Regardless of what the choices you make, I mean, the social media makes things tough.
Yeah, it does. Once it's out there, it is definitely out there. That's why I
Yeah,
like to be
yeah,
measured on here. Just-
right. You know, that's the thing with these phones. I mean, we had phones, but it wasn't like it is now. We're 3 clicks away from somebody in China liking your post
yeah,
on
yeah,
the other side of the freaking world.
yeah,
Somebody in Africa being like, "Oh, like it," and then they hit like, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
3 clicks.
Right. And when Joe Mon and
The
when
world has
Joe Namath
changed.
did it, and when Joe Namath did it, that was a novelty. And now, yeah, it's just become commonplace where, you
Right,
Patrick Mahomes, well, okay, you know the name of his kids, you know the name of his dogs, you know the type of house he's in. Uh, we know
right. But I mean,
Kelsey,
when
Kelsey
Joe
bought a
Namath
different
was in
house.
yeah, Joe Namath was in New York City too, so that makes it really different.
Yeah,
Now you got the New York City media.
right.
And if you think about it, remember he had a pantyhose commercial. Imagine that today. Imagine what would happen if Patrick Mahomes did a pantyhose commercial.
That'd be pretty
It'd
wild.
be and people be saying all types of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody said nothing except for his legs look good in the tights, and that was it. Nobody cared.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, it's definitely yeah, become more it's funny like with hockey players um they don't talk to the media as much, but I had it the other day where hey, there were some hockey players in Winnipeg at this certain spot and uh oh, okay, yeah, and apparently they come there all the time. So it's just people were taking pictures with them, and but everybody becomes so recognizable, right? And again, I'm not saying these
What was
are.
the kid?
Go ahead.
What was the kid's name that played for the Sabres? Was it Razor Rob? Was it Ray? Rob
Yeah,
Ray?
yeah, Rob Ray. Yeah,
And he was an animal, man. I remember going to the bar one night, and he was in the bar, and just talking with him, and then the amount of young kids, like you don't realize in hockey, these dudes were young, man.
Mm-hmm.
These dudes on the Sabres were young. They were it was like they weren't even old enough to be in the bar.
Yeah.
Imagine that nowadays, right? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it was different. Like if we'd have had phones, it'd be a bunch of people in jail because we were some pretty wild cowboys, man.
Well, you guys seem pretty blue collared though. Like, you just get the lunch bucket, go to work, and do your thing. But again, that's just what I saw
Uh,
on
we
the
we
upper.
we 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 party too, man. There's some partying going on. Believe that it was some partying going on.
Yeah, I can only
Yeah, we had a good time.
that's good. That's good. So it is fun to party in Buffalo. Is this what I've never been to Buffalo, but
You know, Buffalo's awesome. I mean, Buffalo's a blue collar city. You can't go wrong. Everybody loves the Bills.
yeah,
You know, as long as you uh, are a good guy and show them that you want to work hard for the city, they love you. They love you.
yeah,
And then with the Marv Levy and
right.
you know Ralph Wilson was awesome. You know, and he was and I try to tell you know I live in Chicago and everybody talk about why is the Bears so why are the Bears the way they are? Why they raise beer prices? I was like because the McCaskies is probably the oldest family in football,
Mm-hmm.
and this is their that's their job. Their job is the Bears.
Yeah,
Ralph Wilson owned the patent to the sliding glass door.
right.
He come in on his helicopter. Hey, fellas, doing? And he fly in and fly out. You like it was rich guy bragging rights more
Yeah,
so than trying to be a business.
yeah,
You know, and now you got people that run it like a business. You're in there looking at the bottom line and doing this and doing that. And granted, somebody's doing that, but just not on a high level. Trust me, that guy in that the Indian guy in Jacksonville, he don't care.
no,
He got a lot of money, and what he's like, how much do I need to make this work?
yeah,
You know, just like my man in Dallas, he don't care. He don't care if you know I got to lower beer prices. He just lower beer prices.
right.
Where the Bears like, no, we were going to tell you we're going to raise them $2.
Yeah,
Where now it's costing you $500 as a family of four to go, and that's before popcorn and drinks
yeah,
and a meal.
yeah.
So yeah,
That's
the game has changed.
yeah. And when you bring up these names, the Arthur Blanks that own Home Depot, the Stan McCorkeys that own Walmart, right? Who also own the
Right,
Colorado
right.
Avalanche. It's just that's their hobby. That's what they do. Uh,
That's a hobby. It's a hobby. The
yeah,
Bears, the McCats, it's not a hobby. That's they serious. It's their job.
yeah,
And it's the you know, and it's one of the oldest franchise, oldest story franchise. You'd hope to think that it would turn around, but it's been yet to it's hard to see someone do something wrong when you've seen it done right before.
mm-hmm,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And that's the hard part. So you just kind of like you watching the Bears game, like nah, nah, I'm good. I watched the Bills game, but not the Bears.
Well, apparently people are pretty high on the Bears this year, and we know that they'll at least try to call a timeout.
You
Uh,
see what I'm saying? See
yeah,
what I mean?
I know.
Like you would have called the timeout.
I
I
would
would
have
have
called.
called the
I
timeout.
was at work that day. I heard about it. I watched it, and I thought, okay, this guy needs to get fired. Well, he was fired the next day. Is it?
Listen, you or I would have called the timeout. Look, and we not
Oh
getting
no,
paid $850,000 to call the timeout. He
exactly.
is.
Yeah, you guess clear as day. I talked to somebody who was at that game, and he goes, I don't understand why they didn't call timeout." And Tony Romo's jumping through the jumping out of the booth. Didn't make any sense
Right.
because Bears will do
Right.
bear things. But maybe with Ben Johnson, it'll be
Right.
different. Maybe.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't. I mean, I'm a Bills fan till the day I die. So
Yeah.
I mean, they hopefully we beat the hell out of them in preseason. I think we play them in preseason.
Hmm. What do you think the Bills have to do to beat to get over the Chiefs?
Put a whole game together.
Yeah.
Put a whole game together. I think it's coming. I mean, Allen is really probably the best player in the league, and I really believe that he should get one. But I mean, I also believe Jim Kelly should have got one. So the game is funny like that. It has no rhyme or reason.
Nope.
No rhyme or reason. I got shit. I played in 2 Super Bowls. Charlie Joyner was a coach in Buffalo. Charlie Joyner played 19 years and never played in the Super Bowl.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to it, man.
Nope. Isaiah Pacheco, he's been to three, he's won two. Makes no sense. Right?
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
He's been in 3 parades.
Yeah. And that's why you gotta seize that moment, right? Like Brock Purdy's good. We don't know if he'll ever get back. Joe Burrow, everybody wants to crown
Look,
him.
it happened to Dan Marino.
Yep, 1983, right?
Never went back.
Right.
Everybody's like, oh, he'll come back. Nope.
Nope.
Nope. It's not that easy.
No, definitely. And again, going back years, but if he would have just had a running game, that was always the thing.
Right. You know what the thing is that we did? It was just uh the running game was we ran through the pass, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Because what? When we played against the Giants, that was before I was there. The year before that, 2 years before that, Thurman was killing them. He was killing them. But what's the coach's name? From New England,
Yeah, Bill Parcells or Bill Belichick.
the evil empire.
Yeah,
Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick was the defensive coordinator for
yeah,
the
he was.
Giants,
Yeah,
and he's like, you know what? Let Thurman run. We'll let Thurman beat us, and he almost did
yeah.
because we couldn't throw the ball to save our lives.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a funny game, isn't it?
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It's as you say, you mentioned of these players never getting there, playing 19 years, never getting to that Super Bowl. It's and again with the AFC the way it is now, right? Like uh Mahomes is at the top. We'll see. I even as a Chiefs fan, I think Allen should get one too. I think it only makes sense. I mean, in 20 years from now, I'd be like, what do you mean Josh Allen didn't get a Super Bowl? Right? So uh,
Right,
there's a
right.
13-second game and
But the defense never stays. The defense never stays healthy, man.
yeah,
I think our year to really win the Super Bowl was the year that what's his name got hurt, got killed on the field. That
DeMar.
was a really good team. Yeah, Hamlin. When Hamlin got hurt, that was a really good team, man. But and then in reality, Hamlin wasn't even supposed to be playing because he might have been third or fourth on the depth chart.
Hmm.
He was forced into that. He was forced into playing because of injuries.
Right.
So that just shows you what that whole thing was. And
Well, they were leading too, right?
hopefully, and then that, yeah, yeah. The thing is, like, guys are getting older, man. So you got what's what's his name? Is he retired yet? Number 40, the defensive end came from Denver.
Oh, Yes,
sack master from
Von
Denver.
Miller. Von Miller. Von Miller, MVP of Super Bowl 50.
Von Miller. And he really hasn't right. He really hasn't done a lot as a Bill. He's been there and had some plays, but not to the level he used to be at. And every year you get a step slower,
Hmm.
not as good. I think we got what's the name is hurt now. What's the one kid from we got one of the Bosa brothers now, don't we?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We have,
I believe we have one of the Bosa brothers.
right. Not the one from the
Look,
49ers, but the
and
one
he's
from,
hurt.
yeah.
He's he's been hurt all summer.
Yeah.
So what is it? If you've been hurt all summer, that means you're gonna get hurt during the season. I mean, that's what I look at it as.
Hmm.
When the real bullets start flying,
Right.
it's wartime.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We just got to stay healthy. The input of some youth. You know what I mean? Let some youth, let the youth rock out. And that's one thing Marv really didn't let the young like us, the babies. He didn't let us do our thing. But I think we might, at least we thought we were ready. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So when the against Dallas and the bottom's falling out, everybody was just like, "Oh Lord, here we go again." Because the last Super Bowl we were winning at halftime.
Yeah. Yeah. You were.
We were winning at halftime, except for in the locker room, it didn't feel like we were winning.
Yeah.
It's like everybody was waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that was?
I don't know. I just think psychologically, like I said earlier, psychologically, our whole mission was to get back to the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
If that's your mission and it's not winning the Super Bowl, it kind of doesn't matter at that point. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's a
Hmm.
weird catch 22. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, there was some weird stuff that happened in that game, and not to recount it too much, but wasn't there the time where Thurman couldn't find his helmet, or there was one player that couldn't find his helmet to get back onto the field?
Oh, that was Washington. That was Washington Super Bowl. Yeah, but I mean, that's weird, man. Think weird things happen, and then I mean, and people forget like Dallas Cowboys. I believe Emmitt Smith was a great football player, but he wasn't that great. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
He had the most dominant offensive line for 10 years. 10 years.
that's
I was
crazy.
watching. We were watching one game, like the opening game of the season. He did like for his first 7 touches. He didn't get touched. So he was in the secondary. It was unbelievable.
Hmm.
It's like that whole offensive line should go to the Hall of Fame. I promise you. Those guys were unbelievable. Nate Newton,
Yeah,
Stepnowski, Eric Williams, like those guys were animals.
Larry Allen.
Larry Allen, they were animals, man. And so when you look at the film, you're like, you can drive cars through these holes, let alone run through them.
Right.
Like how does that work?
Yeah.
How do we get that?
Well, I mean, that's what they often say, right? Football's won in the trenches, and
Yeah, it's you have to be able to run the ball to win the game. Because
mhm.
once you can run the ball, you control the clock.
Yeah,
You control the clock, you control the game. You can throw the ball, you can score 50 points throwing the ball, and your time of possession is no place close to the other team. But if the other team gets the ball and they get to doing some ball control stuff and scoring some points, you're not going to be on the field.
nope.
So running the ball controls the game, and so it always has until they change the rules. With a incomplete pass stops the clock.
Hmm.
So that makes things go real slow and gives people opportunities to ask the Houston Oilers. The game goes real slow when you throwing the ball and people dropping passes. The clock stops. The clock stops. That means I got time to regroup and figure this whole thing out.
Hmm.
And that's what they were running that run and shoot. run and shoot offense. Warren Moon throwing it around. All those guys. Who the wide receivers? They had a bunch of guys on that team, man. A bunch of guys.
Oh man, that's yeah, again, it's crazy to go back and dissect and then kind of get the full glimpse of it all and yeah, just kind of reminisce here a bit and and you know, get into your world of what that was like. I mean, it's just a huge honor to have you on here, Nate, and to share that. And
Oh, no problem.
yeah,
No
yeah,
problem at
it's
all,
good.
man.
I do apologize. It's a
Life is
bit bad internet connection, but
It's all right.
yeah,
We'll make it through.
yeah, we will. Yeah, most definitely. Was there anything else you'd want me to cover? I haven't, so we can always do a part two or uh, that sort of thing.
We can do whatever, man. I'm around. I'm usually around. We can yeah, we can catch up. We can catch up close to the season. You like?
Yeah, 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 for sure. We can definitely.
Yeah.
I am a big NFL guy. I'm a bit rusty in the off season, but that's why I got the NFL Network and that sort of thing.
Exactly. They
But
put you right back where you need to be.
yeah,
Did they?
it totally is. I mean, it just used to be on Sundays, and now it's like all throughout the week. You're good to go.
Man, it's all through every day, and then the combine and leading up to the combine, and now it's OTAs, and now it's something. Everybody gets to start showing up at the end of July for summer. At least that's how it used to be.
Yeah, I see Kansas City is going to have their camp starting on July 21st. So I think that's the main camp, and then
Yeah,
into the season, and soon I think it will be an 18 game season. Just a wild prediction. Super Bowl will be played on
yeah,
President's Day weekend.
because the NFL is greedy like that. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? They want their money,
yeah.
but it's tough enough because these kids are stronger and faster and bigger every year,
Hmm.
and so the beating on the body, they have lessened it. They've lessened it, but I don't think they've lessened it enough to go to an 18 game season.
No,
That's a lot, man.
it's.
That's a lot. That's a lot of wear and tear on the body.
Hmm. Like in the CFL, it's different because they got three bye weeks. Yeah, there's 18 games. Some people think they should go to a 16. Um,
But the
to
bye
me,
weeks are nice. If you got enough bye weeks, you got. I mean, if somebody gets hurt, you have to hope that they will get injured before bye week. You know what I mean? So you can kind of regroup and get them a week off, and yeah. But that's the best thing about having bye weeks.
yeah. Yeah, and then there's some cases where we saw the Chiefs and the Steelers and whoever else play like three games in 11 days around Christmas. They played on 21st.
Yeah,
It's
that's rough, man.
like,
That's almost like slavery. You don't. I mean, that's a lot.
yeah,
That's a lot, man. That's especially if you play a position where you're doing a lot of smacking, like the quarterback, and you're not getting hit. You know what I mean? The wide receivers, running backs, linebackers. It's a lot of pounding going on. And when people don't realize, like the special teams is, without special teams, I wouldn't have played as long as I did. And, ever. That's where the journeyman players are trying to make their mark.
right.
So it's really like Vietnam without the killing. Like so, you run it down on kickoffs, and if you remember correctly, that's when they in the wedge and the kickoff return, you had linemen, you had guards in the middle of the wedge.
Hmm.
Like they eliminated all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many concussions I got running down on kickoff.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, it's as I say, it's a different game. It's all in the name of safety. But yeah, we did, as we talked about, we saw the Damar Hamlin thing going on, and they try their best, right? But sometimes I think when they try to do this, bigger things can happen.
right. Yeah. It takes it comes off of technique. The technique when you don't, and there's not a lot of hitting it going on at practice. So if you and that's what's going on in college right now. You got a lot of people, a lot of college kids can't tackle because you don't tackle. You know what I mean? It practices getting to the point where it's so light and not a lot of full game situation. Just look at the spring game. Nobody wants to do a spring game. They rather
Hmm.
have a spring skills competition or something weird like that instead of just having a spring game.
Yeah.
I believe that's taken away from the college game, which is eventually taken away from the program.
Yeah, because they've been conditioned and then they bring all this in and yeah, it's
That's
I would say that's somewhat concerning, troubling, to be honest.
100%, 100%. But and then the kids are getting all this money. Like kid from Tennessee, he took a either I'm you're gonna give me he gonna renew his college contract. Are you kidding me? That's crazy.
Yeah,
Pick up pick up your box of ramen noodles and shut up, man.
yeah,
He was making $2 million a year. Come on, man. I mean, I think that NIL is going to have kids stay in college longer because if you're not a top pick, say you're a quarterback making $2 million a year, you know what? You making more than Purdy did last year,
yeah.
and you're
That's
in college.
that's crazy. That is that's mind blowing.
So it's best. There's nobody rushing to go to the league anymore.
Right.
You used to be like, man, I got to go ahead and get to the league before so I can make some of this money. Now you making the money beforehand. It almost doesn't matter because now everybody's doing the stuff for the clicks and for the TikTok and this and that, and that's where they're getting the money from that stuff too.
Right. Yeah, Jerry Maguire maybe started something. I don't know.
Right, right, right.
Uh, but yeah, it's yeah. Again, I know I talked about Reggie Bush, what happened 20 years ago, but look how far. You've mentioned a bunch of examples here, and yeah, it's entitlements and that sort of thing all come with that as well. It's
Yeah,
not.
but the part of it is this: Reggie Bush earned his.
Yeah,
Listen, he earned every illegal cent he made. He earned.
yeah,
He was Reggie freaking Bush. You know what
yeah.
I mean? So you can say, oh man, but did he deserve it? Yeah, yeah, he did.
Hmm.
But then you got these kids nowadays that are you got a lot of kids that are they look good in shorts and t-shirt, and they do well in 7-on-7, and then they give these kids money, and then it's time to show and prove, and it's nothing there.
Right.
That's why I hope doesn't happen to Travis Hill. You know what I mean? And because it's different playing from you played at Colorado, which is good football, but who'd you play? Like honestly,
Right. And Colorado was only big because of Sanders.
right, right. So everybody was you getting the clicks and all that, but who you playing? You're really not playing. You weren't playing USC.
Right. Right.
You weren't playing. And if you did, you got your head chopped. You weren't playing Ohio State, Michigan.
Hmm.
So and that's one thing I've learned. Like you get the guys that are superstars. Sometimes they aren't superstars because when you're playing like in college, so if 1% of college players go on to play in the NFL, right?
Hmm.
How many do you play against every week that are allegedly of your ilk if you're All American? You know what I mean? Not many. If it's 1%, so you should be doing great. But then you have to see, you never know how a horse is going to pull till you hook it up to a load. So now you get to the NFL and it's real bullets flying, it's real grown men, that this is their livelihood. It's a little different game. It's a little faster, a lot more violent. At least it used to be.
Yeah, I joke that it may be flag football eventually, but we're not quite there.
Right. It's getting close though.
Yeah, it's very much
So
so.
you touch somebody wrong, it's a flag. You're getting kicked out of the game. Receivers getting hit. DBs getting kicked out of games. Yeah, it's in a violent game, you can't be violent.
Right.
Ronnie Lott, he'd had millions of dollars in fines.
Yeah.
And all those big safeties back in the day.
Well, Steve
Yeah, those
Atwater.
guys. Steve Atwater, another one. He'd been, but in the way they play now, he'd have to play linebacker. He wouldn't be able to run with these kids. These kids, a lot of wide receivers on the field all over the place because you can't just lay back and play two deep safeties anymore.
No.
Dudes will run past you.
Right.
You got to have some type of exotic four over invert. You know what I mean? Exotic defenses to stop these crazy exotic offenses nowadays. Which the no huddle was at one point. It was pretty exotic and pretty different.
Hmm.
But you had somebody, a Jim Kelly who would go through like practice. So just say our 7-on-7 practice would last 7 minutes. It wouldn't be long because Jim would go no huddle and they go through the script and then that's it. And I've seen him go 100%, 14 plays, 100%. Like, wow, that's crazy. But it's Jim Kelly.
Right.
So, when you don't know what mediocrity is if you've never been around it.
Hmm.
And when I got into the league, I wasn't around any mediocrity, so I had no idea. All I know is Super Bowls, but Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
When I got to Carolina, I was miserable. It was a miserable time in Carolina. Great hitting, fans weren't really around. It was the first year of the team. It was Bill South. It was me, Frank Wright, Don Beebe. Who else? I think there's a couple more guys that were in Buffalo that the general manager brought in because he was the general manager that drafted us in Buffalo. Bill Polian.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah,
So
he's
he
definitely
brought
been
us he brought
around.
us all down to
Yeah.
yeah, he brought us all down to Carolina. We are gonna try to put together the Buffalo Bills South. But the Dom Capers was a different guy. He's a defensive minded, coach, and it's all about the defense. And it's all about hitting. And I was like, Lord have mercy. We used to look at each other like, Lord, what is going on? This is like high school, man. But that defense ended up becoming really good. When they got Kevin Green and you had some guys that could really, really get out and get it.
And you did land up going to the NFC Championship game that year, right?
I don't no, we didn't make it to the NFC Championship game. I think it was the most wins of a expansion team. I think it was the following year. The following year they made it to the NFC Championship.
Okay.
Or maybe 2 years after.
Right. That's right. Yeah, my year's all confused here. That was, yeah,
That's all right.
that was January. Yeah, that was the January of not the 97 game. I believe.
Right.
Memory serves me correct. So that would have been Super Bowl 31. That would have been the
Right.
Packers over the Patriots. That's correct. I get it
My
straight.
man Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Right
thanks
on.
for having me on, brother.
Hey, no worries. Anytime. Yeah, I would love to do a show before the season starts.
Yeah. Just
I'll get my
keep
charts
in
out.
touch with me. Let me know.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
keep in touch with me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most
And
definitely.
we'll get together and do this again. It was cool.
It was. Yeah, I do appreciate you coming on, Nate, and sharing your stories and all of that. And yeah, we'll definitely, as you say, we'll stay in touch and we'll look forward to another NFL season coming up.
Cool. All right, brother.
Good.
God bless, Steve. I'll
God bless
talk
you
to you.
too. All righty.
All right, my man. All right.